Sandy Krebs, but you can call me Chef Viva Vegana. In these videos, I'll be sharing with you how anyone can make delicious vegan food. So, let's cook. Hi, Chef Viva Vegana here. Today I'd like to share my recipe for tamales with you. So, let's cook. These are definitely not the tamales your grandma used to make. For one thing, they're vegan. We'll be using vegan filling, of course. And I'll be using coconut oil instead of lard or shortening. You could also use a vegan shortening, but I just really like the flavor the coconut oil adds to the masa. And another way these depart from the tamales grandma used to make is instead of mixing the masa in a bowl or with a hand mixer, I'm going to be using a food processor. Now you can mix the masa in a bowl by hand or with a hand mixer, but it just makes a lot quicker a job of this doing it in the food processor, and I find that the quality is very much the same. So that's one time-saving thing you can do. Another thing that makes these not like the tamales grandma used to make is instead of using a steamer on the stove top, I'm going to be cooking these in an Instant Pot, which takes about 20 minutes. Now you can also use a pot with a steamer basket in it or a steamer on the stove top, in which case you'll be cooking them or steaming them for an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. So, all that said, let's jump into the recipe. Okay, first things first, you want to make sure that you have your filling ready and at room temperature or cold to start with. This is the tempeh taco and tamale filling that I made yesterday, and this recipe is on my YouTube channel. Next first thing is you want to soak your corn husks in warm water for about 30 minutes. If you don't have a tub like this or a deep baking dish, you can do it right in the sink. Put a plate on them to hold them down in the water and just set those aside while you're doing the rest of the prep. This is the brand that I usually use of the masa. It's Maseca Tamal. They didn't pay me to promote this or anything. I just like using this product, so I thought I'd share that with you. So we are doing this in a food processor, not old school, but very effective. First, we're gonna put all the dry ingredients in. I've got 2 cups of the cornmeal masa, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of a powdered vegetable bouillon. If you're using a vegetable stock instead of water, you can eliminate the vegetable bouillon powder. Now that we've got all the dry ingredients evenly distributed, I'm going to put in the 2/3 of a cup of coconut oil. And now that the coconut oil is kind of mixed in, I'm going to use between 1 and 1.5 cups of water in this recipe. You want this like a very loose paste, and depending on how humid it is and other factors, you may use more or less water. So I've got 1.5 cups of water here. I'm not gonna pour that all in to start. I'm just gonna pour about 1 cup of it in to start. You can see that it's kind of wet now. It was starting to form a ball. It's like a very dry paste at this point, but we want it a lot wetter. So I'm gonna pour in just a little bit more of the water while it's processing. I need to scrape the sides down. I see the bottom is looking nice and wet, but it's not all getting mixed together, so we're just gonna scrape down the sides. I think that's just about right. It's like a nice, I don't know, maybe just a touch more water. I think that's perfect. It's like a nice moist paste now. So I had 1.5 cups of water here to start with, and let's see, how much do I have left? That's about 2 ounces left. So I used 1.25 cups. Okay, now that I have the masa made, I'm going to move it from the food processor bowl into a bowl. kind of see how much I have to work with. And I'm making a dozen tamales out of this. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball how much I'm going to use for each one of the tamales. It doesn't have to be exact. It's just giving you an idea of how much masa is going to get used for each one. When you get more used to making them, you could skip that, but that might be a helpful step at first for you. If it hasn't been 30 minutes since you started soaking the corn husks, you might want to take a dish rag that you've gotten wet and wrung out and just cover the masa to keep it moist while you're waiting the few minutes for the corn husks to be ready. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes now, so these corn husks should be ready. We're gonna take them out of the water. We could take this moist towel that was keeping the masa moist, and I'm gonna pat dry the husks. They don't need to be completely dry, but you don't want them soaking wet either. Okay, that's good. I took a couple of the smaller husks and I soaked them too because we're gonna pull those apart to make strings out of them, but I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so let's start. I don't think you're going to be able to see it on the camera, but you'll be able to feel it. There's one side that's a little more rough and one side that's, I don't know, almost waxy and more flat. You want to roll the tamales into the more flat, less ridges and kind of waxy side. So we're just going to take a little bit of the masa here, a 1/12 of the masa, and we're going to spread it out on the top part. We're not going all the way to the top. So we're just gonna spread that out. And then we're gonna put about a tablespoon of filling in the middle. And we're going to fold one side over, the other side over. So it's gonna look like this now. And then we're going to roll it. And we're gonna take and fold over the bottom, and we're leaving this top side open. I'm just gonna set it aside now. And we'll roll them all, we'll tie them all later. Now that we've got all the tamales rolled, we're going to make strings out of the smaller pieces of corn husk. If they're not long enough to tie the tamale, you can tie a couple pieces together, but I think these are going to be just long enough. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not going to struggle with it and I'm just going to tie a couple together. Okay, that'll make it easier. Okay. And the last step is cooking them. All right, now that we have the tamales all rolled, they're ready to go into the Instant Pot. We're going to set the Instant Pot to pressure cook and 20 minutes. As you can see, I already have the steamer rack that comes with the Instant Pot in there, and I have put 1 cup of water in there. The beauty part about using an Instant Pot to cook tamales is it's a lot faster for one, and the other beauty part is you don't have to worry about the water cooking out of the pot like you do if you're steaming them on the stove top. So I'm just placing all of these on the rack and leaning them out toward the outside edge with the open side up and the tied side down. You could probably fit twice as many in here if you wanted to, but since we just made a dozen it is. We're going to put the lid on now. Make sure it is on sealing, not venting. And you can turn the keep warm function off, because after they've steamed for 20 minutes, we're going to let the steam naturally dissipate. The 20 minutes is up. You can see it's on off. Since we turned off the keep warm function, it just went straight to off. I'm gonna unplug it, and you can see it's still got steam in there, so we're going to let that naturally dissipate. That should take about 20 minutes. Okay, as predicted, it took 20 minutes for the steam to dissipate. I want to mention real quick, if you don't have corn husks available to you, you can also use banana leaves or even a heavy plastic wrap to wrap the tamales in. Also, I mentioned earlier on the YouTube channel, there's the recipe that I used for the filling for these tamales, the tempeh, taco, and tamale filling, but I will be posting other tamale filling recipes as time goes on. I have a butternut squash in my garden that's just about ready to pick, so I feel a butternut squash, roasted corn, and poblano tamale filling coming on real soon. So, it's the moment of truth. Let's open this thing. Ooh, they look so good. They smell so good. And they are beautiful. Now the real moment of truth. That's so good, it should be illegal. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and I hope that you'll like and share the video and subscribe to my channel as well. Until next time, let's cook.